Prophet of God by Chris Cooper, Chapter 19. A dilapidated ceiling floated above the numerous helmets proceeding throughout the wrecked building. Pieces of shattered glass glittered against the potent light beams coming from various squads of troopers and their equipment. The areas of the building were dark as night, only the steady blinking of long, silent fire alarms revealing the shapes and curves of the walls, and graffiti littered them, some of which read things like "Hosanna in the highest," written boldly in red spray paint, and "You will not prevail," in the word "mystery." Several areas of the tiled floor were slick with fluid, and taps all around of drinking fountains and bathrooms were left still belching streams of water as the troopers surged deeper into the complex. "This way," one of the commanders motioned, jerking his neck and leading a group of a dozen or so into the wreck's many chambers. Dan, along with a squad in full gear and munitions, made a beeline for an off hallway which led to a pair of restrooms. Breaking through the door, the squad were confronted by shards of mirror glass covering the tiled floor of the bathroom. One of the troopers' lights quickly fell onto the body-sized entryway cut into the wall of the bathroom. After another couple lay their backs against the wall on either side of the once secret door, Dan shined his light down into it, revealing a spiraled staircase. "This is it," Dan confirmed, motioning to his comrades. "If our hostages are anywhere, they'll be here," he nodded. The procession surged down the steps before spilling into a pitch-black room. The walls were stained yellow, and the drywall was bloated and busted in several places. Up ahead, as revealed by their lights, they saw a torn-up maroon curtain lying across a tall set of ornately decorated bronze doors, slightly opened. Back up in one of the gymnasiums featured throughout the wreck, a group of police troopers approached a series of tables thrown over, creating a makeshift barricade. The leader of this group motioned for caution. The table fort betrayed smears of what appeared to be blood as a dozen flashlights brushed over it. Dead silence all around embraced each of the men's panting from within their headgear. "Subject spotted," the captain of the group radioed in. Some of the troopers encircled the flip table barricade, rapidly falling in on command, their guns and lights pointed, which met only the backside of picnic tables. Debris, including pools of beverages and scattered bits of food, filled the floors, leaving a very slick surface. It soon became clear, lying up against one of the tables was a single person. One of the troopers inched forward to get a closer look. There, lying on her back, her neck and long hair twisted in the opposite direction, was the young lady. Her rattled blonde hair draped over a flowy orange sundress, mangled and covered in blood, and her limbs, still as death, spread onto the floor and twisted unnaturally. As the man tried to get a response from the woman, her face slid over to meet his own. Her eyes were sunken into dark circles and rolled back completely, revealing only bloody white, with her lower face covered by a medical face mask. It was one of the sisters. The trooper felt for a pulse on her wrist and then began to remove the mask from her face. As soon as the mask was peeled off, a sardonic grin of stained teeth and lips as a wilted rose appeared, leaving the trooper to flinch. Dan and his crew plowed their way through a carpeted layer, swollen with water, and a high ceiling that was peeled away with strips of paint unrolled downward, nearly brushing the mushy floor. A nose-curling stench and fog permeated the air. Human bodies in stained white outfits of various kinds and textile were strewn all across the place, some forming lines like packs of sardines lying motionless across. Fucking Christ, Dan whispered inside his respirator as the troops examined the open space with their flashlights. In the gymnasium back up above, the trooper who'd pulled back the mask of the unfortunate young lady's face shuddered in disgust upon the sight. At that very moment, some of the other troopers began shouting. There descended upon the crew a rain of red lasers as piercing eyes from amidst the surrounding blackness, like a horde of bats inside a cave, soon opening, ripping gunfire from aloft along some running track which circled the gym, launching the atmosphere into a cracking rage. Meanwhile, Dan jumped as the abrupt popping of gunfire began raining down from various corners of the flooded basement room where he and his crew were still processing the piled up, bloated corpses before them. His troop broke into positions to counter the sources of the blasts all around. A few tripped over debris, falling on account of being struck by hazing bullets. The crew continued to neutralize manic enemies running toward them, swinging arms and raging screams as banshees, only the light of the officers' guns revealing what resembled human beings hurtling one after the next. Some of these assailants were closer to death in appearance than to living. Their sunken eyes and bruised and bleeding skin burst as the troopers' bullets tore them away. The insurgents relentlessly piled forward from almost every direction, throwing their bodies toward the lights of the officers' weapons with absolutely no regard for themselves, or the reciprocating blasts from the guns, and gunfire from dark corners continued to top it all off. After exchanging some fire from his own rifle, Dan barreled ahead until falling onto a series of steps of black polished marble, which he quickly ascended along with two of his other men. Dan's squad burst through a hallway and into another room, this time being lit up by a warm orange glow. Straight ahead of them sat a large wooden desk. Papers and debris of all kinds were all over the floor, some even smoldering as if having been burnt recently. A slight haze sunk from the ceiling paint, swollen into dripping mounds of gel onto the floor. "Where are they?" Dan shouted, pointing his assault rifle straight forward at a black mass towering over the desk. The lights then began to flicker, and the background noise of exchanging gunfire continued. After a few seconds, the mass began to move, and a hooded figure emerged into vision, the haze moving aside. "Put your hands up," Dan screamed. A static black carnival mask with golden embroidery rose its gaze at the incoming police. Two bright circles inside the mask, one of red and one of blue, stabbed the heavy air and began pulsating. "Hands where I can see 'em," another officer screamed. The figure simply raised one glove-covered hand into the air. Dan and his crew stood and watched as it became clear there was a silver chain wrapped around the figure's hand. Through the hazy room, Dan took immediate notice that the chain extending in two separate directions on opposite sides of the desk, where the mask was sitting, led to the necks of two other individuals, appearing to kneel on the floor with their heads lowered, The lights in the room shut down. Chapter 20. Trevin, Jesse, and Jin, who was bouncing Troy's massive body along the bridge of their shoulders, clobbered their way through a long stretch of under-blocked tunnel. The musty air made it hard to breathe, and the tight walls were marked by rust stains and mildew. "How do you all do this all the time?" Jin joked between breaths. "Do what?" Jesse's voice echoed. "It's so much just to get around. The current is so thick," said Jin. "You said they were this way?" asked Jesse. "Yeah, that's what it reads anyway. Here." Jin swung in the right direction after they approached a soggy crossroads inside of the tunnel. They'd all managed to descend into the tunnel, which had protruded out some distance away from the forest floor back at the depression in the earth in the woods. The concrete cylinder, topped with a manhole cover, it turned out, was merely one of the many entry points constructed by the tabernacle over the years, sprawling into a network of shafts all beneath the immense property, creating an elaborate network of easy and clandestine passage. Upon ascending some steps, the party fell into a room of pitch black. Trevin's shaking hand grappled with his smartphone before clicking on the LED light. They finally found a light switch, and when the room became clear, there sat two people lied against a steel support beam. It was Lint, Brandon, and Valerie. Both of them were bound with a cord and had their mouths taped shut and a dark blindfold over their eyes. A massive thud resounded in the room, like someone dropping a pile of grocery bags. Troy was on the floor. "Shit!" Jesse jumped back, turning to see it. The lights of the depressing scene then flickered. An apparition of Jin, this time of a corrupted quality, stood some feet away from the bound couple. "Jin?" Trevin swung around, viewing Troy lying on the ground and then back again. "I'm losing." Jin's voice drifted through the stagnant, smelly air. Jesse knelt down to Lynn and Valerie. "Here." He motioned for Trevin's hand. "The fuck? I don't have anything." Trevin panicked. "Troy should have a knife in his boot. He always keeps one," Jesse explained. The pair of hostages were finally released, and gasping after Jesse carefully removed the tape around Lynn's face to start with. "What happened? What's going on?" Jesse shook his friend. "They fucking almost killed us, Jess. This place is falling apart," Lynn groaned. As their arms were freed, Valerie and Lynn embraced and shuddered. There was a large steel door up ahead which sat cracked open, and they could all faintly hear the intermittent popping noise of gunfire and screaming. "How the fuck are we supposed to get out of this shithole?" Jesse shouted into the air. They all turned to hear some groaning coming from the other end of the room. Troy began stirring awake, and Trevin ran to catch him. "The fuck is going on?" Troy slobbered, coming awake. Lynn spoke up. "Why don't we just go the way that you guys came?" Jesse shook his head. "No fucking way, dude. There's this fucking thing. What the fuck is this place? Trevin asked. They brought us here, said Valerie. Who, and where's Jerry? Troy interrupted them all. The church people, they're fucked up, man. There's drugs here, they're doing all kinds of illegal shit, Valerie explained with Lint nodding along. Throughout the room, several large racks hung on the concrete walls, and there were small desks which contained computer monitors and modems with boards of blinking lights of various colors. Jess, Troy had leapt up, standing in front of one of the racks now. He reached and grappled a long black shotgun, holding it in the air. These fuckers got some serious biscuits. He cocked the gun. Do y'all know where we are? Jesse asked Valerie. We're in one of the control rooms. Jin suddenly stepped forward out of a dark corner. Yo! Troy pointed the end of his barrel at Jin, taking some steps back. T, no, they're with us. It's Jerry. Put the gun down, Jesse ordered. Troy lowered the shaft. I say we just charge fucking forward, Jess, and cream these bastards and get the fuck out of here, man, Troy announced. Jin turned to the rack on the wall and began messing with a pistol in one of their hands, murmuring to themselves, so how does this thing work anyway? If we can get past whatever the fuck is out there, they've got to have cops swarming this place by now, Jesse said. Maybe we should just wait here, guys. They should be... A flash of light in a crack shocked them all to silence in the room, followed by the clang of a couple spent shells bouncing across the concrete floor. Jin had taken the pistol from one of the walls and shot both Lint and Valerie point blank in the head. Tja, nice try, you goons, Jin tished. Trevin, Jesse, and Troy looked at Jin, stunned. Troy rotated his shotgun like a faucet knob on a sink. Jess, step back, this gonna be loud as fuck. He opened fire on Jin, sending chunks of dust and concrete into the air. Jin looked down and then chucked the pistol onto the floor unfazed, and then nonchalantly adjusted their jacket, igniting another cigar. Damn, I'm surprised they let that one go through. Some weird shit going on here, that's for sure, Jin said. Troy cocked the shotgun again, sending a shell tumbling down. Jin, Trevin wailed, grasping their face. What the fuck? I'm sorry. I know this must be hard for y'all to see. Jin shook their head. Look. They gestured toward the bodies of their friends. Valerie and Lynn suddenly began contorting on the floor, their limbs twisting every which way till a disturbing guttural noise emerged from inside their throats, and each of the faces dispensing with liberal amounts of a tar-like substance before shaking into profound stillness. What lay before the guys became unrecognizable corpses with pasty skin clinging to bone, and both their faces stretched into a maligning grin, leaking pools of sludge. It's not your friends, Jin spoke to the multiple sets of wide stares. I thought y'all were acting funny. These fuckers were eyeballing you like a roasted turkey. What in the holy Christ? Troy shook, gripping his shotgun even tighter. There's probably more of them coming, Jin said, shooting a column of smoke into the air. Them? Trevin exploded. Jin glanced up. Yeah, the dead. The dead? Jin sighed. They're dead. Been dead a while, actually. Most everyone here. Well, like, some dead, but not. Honestly, don't know how to explain that, they continued. Shit. Here, Jess. Jin tossed a lighter to Jesse. I meant to give that back to you. Sorry, bud. Troy reeled back, glaring at Jin. Well, yeah, they're dead because you shot them. It's possible to die long before the body gives up, Troy, said Jin. Well, what do we do? Jesse finally asked, planting his feet on the floor. Some crashing noises rang out from behind the steel door, making clear the probable distance of the incoming threat. Jin's cigar slipped from their hand and onto the floor. Fuck, they complained. I'm losing it again. Losing what? Troy ordered. Y'all take the tunnel out of here. Just head in any direction except the one we came. They're getting close. I can smell their savor, Jin said. Can you help us? Jesse urged. Sure, I'll dance with them, said Jin, skating over the floor toward Trevin. But I need oxygen, though. Here, quick, let me see your phone. My phone? Trevin said, wrestling with his pockets. This is some fucking apocalypse shit. Oh my fucking god, Jesse moaned. Boorish clamor drew nearer and nearer from the hallways beyond the door. Pretty much, Jin grappled the phone with Trevin. Bro, are you serious? Let's go. Troy started for the exit, pulling along his arm. Okay, so no service. You just gotta punch this thing, right? Jin asked. Yeah, just the downloads, Trevin said, dashing away with the others. It's all so gay. Perfect, Jin smiled, scrolling over Trevin's playlists. That's the best kind of music. They'd all left Jin, who'd connected Trevin's phone to the main feed on the panel of the campus motherboard, and then pressed play. This is Prophet of God by Chris Cooper. That was chapter 20. The next will be in a little while. For anyone watching, if you're interested in the book, it's available on Amazon in other formats. Paperback, hardback, or hardcover, and then ebook. So Profit, Prophet of God by Chris Cooper. Next time. There's nobody.